Alexander-Arnold, it's running!
From doubter to believer.
But I was asking you because I can't be fucked talking about Wolves because it's kind of like one leads into the other. What's wrong with Liverpool? And what are they not doing that they like? Because it's crazy because we've lost a bunch of defenders and now our strikers can't score. So it's kind of like, I was using the analogy with you before, someone losing their glasses, for example. I mean, literally Klopp, perhaps. But if someone it needs glasses to see, right? And you take the glasses off them and now they bump into stuff. Would you say the reason they're bumping into stuff is because they've lost their glasses? You would, wouldn't you?
Yes and no, because I think there definitely is something to say when you're talking about, obviously, when you have to play against the big dogs in the of the league. Like, obviously, when you play City and you play Chelsea and you play, even Everton to an extent, you kind of say, yeah, look, we don't really have what we need. We haven't got the ingredients to make this cake, if you want to use analogies. But losing to Fulham and Brighton and all these other ones, for me, no.
I get that, but going back to the analogy, let's just say I lose my glasses and I can't see. If I bump into something as soon as I lose my glasses, what would you say the reason is for that? It's because I don't have my glasses on, right? Like I needed my glasses to I can't see. So this is the thing that's happening now. It's been 2 months and there's still no glasses. We haven't got them because a large majority of these injuries and stuff have we've got 3 centre-backs out. Like, a whole bunch of the team. And then on top of that, Henderson, Fabinho, we haven't got the glasses back. And so we keep bumping into stuff and everyone keeps asking, why do you keep bumping into things? The reason I use this analogy is because, okay, we still don't have the glasses on. We can't see. And so, it's that is a large way to explain what's going on. And we get angry and people are like we know the reason for this. I mean, maybe it goes deeper than that, but this team is a small-knit team. Klopp works with 15 players at a time, and he lost half the squad at one stage. We're talking Jota, that's one, Thiago, Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez, Fabinho, Henderson. At one stage, Mane was out. Like, we're talking like a whole squad was out. And now we're like 3 months later and we're still trying to explain like what's going on. Is it too much of a cop-out, pardon the pun, to say that we're still reeling, we're still struggling with the injuries? That's the reason for all of this? Or is it because some people are saying like, no, you can't blame the injuries anymore. It's been too long. But they're still out, I
think the injuries still always have its part to play in any conversation for the rest of the season. But again, we've played teams that we've filled out starting 11 that are twice as strong as theirs, and we haven't won. So I look at stuff like that. I think the issues are deeper than injuries.
Right. What are they? Because the injuries make us play differently, and we were this well-oiled machine that played a certain way, and the thing is, the problems with the squad, with this team, with this Klopp's Liverpool, are simultaneously the reasons why we were praising them. So this is what I find interesting, is people come out here and ridicule this and slam it to the hills and back, to the heavens and back. And that's fine. You have every right to do that, or any person has any right to do that. This is pretty much the whole fan base right now. But we were praising this stuff like a year ago. We're saying Klopp works with such a small-knit group of players and he plays this heavy metal football and he utilizes the crowd. In this current scenario with this COVID and the no crowds and everything, he's lost all his weapons. He went into his managerial life saying, these are my weapons. This is what I do. And he lost all of them. And if you were to ask him right now, like, oh, in case there's a COVID outbreak in like 10 years' time, would you like change your managerial style? He's like, we don't know if that's going to happen or not. In this current scenario, it's his system was the worst system to come into this current scenario. Absolutely. But for the 3 years before COVID hit, his system was the best system. So it's kind of like, all the things we were praising him for, things like keeping a close-knit squad, and we were praising Edwards for not spending big on big people, and we're praising FSG for keeping all that stuff worked before the pandemic. And now it's not working because everything that we do is kind of risky, but it was working. And now we're kind of like, that all sucks. Like Klopp needs the crowd. Klopp needs heavy metal football, and all that stuff is like gone.
I think Liverpool need the crowd. Liverpool Football Club need the crowd. That's clear.
Yeah, sorry. I meant Klopp's Liverpool. History,
but for example, our biggest nights ever, the famous nights of Liverpool Football Club, have all had something to do with the crowd behind them. You go with Istanbul, they'll tell you at half-time they sung You Never Walk Alone. That you go to the Barcelona game just recently. You can go back to the Chelsea finals with Rafa Benitez. You can go to the Dortmund, the Europa League Dortmund final as well. So you can sit there, and most of our famous nights have involved our crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That's no, like that one there, you can't make any excuses for. I think that one there is the most. You can bring that up and everyone will agree. Even the opposition fans will agree. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
Yep.
But going back to your injury thing, I get that the injuries have impacted the style of play. Obviously personnel, all that kind of stuff. I just think when you're playing Brighton or Burnley at home or Fulham at home and whatever it is, and you're not registering shots on target, I don't think that, for me, that's not enough to say, but we've had some players out. I think pound for pound, individually, everyone on the pitch, again, we are twice as strong as these oppositions. And regardless if there's a few players here or there, they should be good enough to still get results against this team, or these sort of teams anyway.
So how were we scoring before, and why aren't we scoring now? We can kind of work backwards. I mean, not registering shots on target. That we when Klopp came in and Pep Linders was his right-hand man, he was talking about 10 out of 10 chances versus 5 out of 10 chances, and how this team's going to learn how to do that. Again, we praise that because that started happening. We started scoring goals inside the box. Salah was a tap-in merchant. We were, getting the ball to the byline, crossing it back. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold kind of crossing to each other until one of them hit someone. We talked about the loop-de-loop, the over-the-top kind of things where the two fullbacks are, kind of constantly bombing balls across the box, and if it misses, it hits the other fullback and we go again. We're talking about those 10 out of 10 chances. We're not registering shots on goal. That means that we're kind of waiting for the perfect opportunity. What's kind of, how were we scoring before, and what are we doing now that kind of is blatantly not that?
But sometimes it's not about us. So it's quick to everyone, like, we're quick to point, what aren't we doing? It's actually what's everyone else doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the opposition, everyone has got this blueprint to play against us. So I'll look at, we're not registering shots on target, maybe because we're still trying to play the same way. Mm-hmm. So injuries or not, I think that we've had to evolve tactically with our current squad, because at the end of the day, that Van Dijk's out for the season. Gomez is gone for the season. You know all the obvious ones. So you can't sit there and say, but Van Dijk. We've had plenty of time to recover in terms of come up with a different strategy. We haven't. And when we play in the Premier League, we said this on the phone yesterday, right? We play in the Premier League. Our players don't want to play in the Premier League anymore because they're sick of seeing 10 people behind the ball. Mm-hmm. At the Champions League, you're in must-win games. So we look great in the Champions League because obviously Red Bull had to attack us both games. And it was all of a sudden, look at this now. There's spaces. We can get in behind. We can still do the same thing that we've been doing for the past 5 years, which looks great. But I think we have to adapt now to the Premier League, where everyone's kind of saying, this is too easy to play against Liverpool. So everyone sees us now and they smell blood. When that shouldn't be the case, regardless of who's not playing, who's playing. At the same time, we should face these sort of teams. And at the moment, it just seems like no matter who you are, just come to, either it's Anfield, which I don't call it Anfield anymore. I'll call it a grass patch until there's crowd there.
Can I very just quickly
come to this place?
Yeah, just very quickly on that. I'm not going to be long on the Anfield thing. For me, it doesn't count. All these games, this is not home. It's not a home game. I don't care what anyone says. We haven't lost any games at Anfield, as far as I'm concerned. It's a like you just said. You said it perfectly. It's a patch of green grass. That's it. What's the point of calling it a home game when we don't have home fans? The only thing we have is a closer coach trip. That's it.
Yeah, we've got some banners put up in the cockpit. Like, okay, do those banners sing? Do they? Like, it's not.
I mean,
for me,
they
I
should
don't
put
know.
they
The
should
home
put
game,
they
in
should
a
put
way,
54,000 laptops in the stadium and just turn the volume up. Why not? Just try something. It'll
I don't know
sound
why we
like
haven't gone approach like the NBA. I don't know if you, I don't know, when you were in the States, did you see much of the NBA?
no, but I watched WWE and they did that. They put people's
Yeah, but
they put little
well, there you go.
laptops up.
The NBA have their screens around there where there would be, for example, Madison Square Garden. We all know how big that place is, and there's screens like where their fans watching or whatever it is. Like, I don't know why no football fans have done that. But anyway, moving on.
Go on. Sorry, yeah, go on.
I
So
just
yeah,
think
you
that,
said the Anfield
no,
thing.
I just
Yeah.
think that we need to. Yeah, but no one like they come now. They go, for example, Wolves. We all know Wolves defend deep as it is already. They're quite a defensively sound team. So if I'm Wolves, and I'm thinking, you know what, we actually got more of a chance of winning this more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're the next couple teams coming leads or whatever it is, just sit back, defend deep, and you're gonna get something.
Let me tell you one of the crazy phenomena that is happening right now at Anfield is that it's not Anfield. We just established that because the reason why people are afraid of going to, firstly, the reason why a home game is good is because you get the fans behind you. That's why it's called the home game, because that's the advantage, home ground advantage. I mean, there is no advantage if you don't have the crowd. Like you just said, it's like playing at a park. So this is the problem now, is that Anfield doesn't have fans. So Liverpool Football Club show up and don't play the same way because they physically don't have the fans. Okay. This is the issue, is that opposition teams are coming to Anfield as they've always come to Anfield, which is parking the bus at the Anfield Road end or at the Cop end, whichever side they're on, and sitting there and waiting. And they're playing the same way, but we're not. So you would think, you would hope, like in the COVID thing, what should be happening here is just like with Liverpool seem to be the only team doing like the COVID thing, quote unquote, correctly. I don't mean it correctly in that way. What I'm saying is that, their style of play is clearly changing, not for the better, by the way. But other teams, like you would assume that if you're going to go to Anfield, you're thinking there's no crowd. There's no home ground advantage. There's no like fire from Liverpool. There's no tempo. Let's go out there and try and win. But that's not happening. And it's actually working in the opposition's favor because they're coming and they're parking the bus as per usual. And Liverpool don't have that extra push from the home fans. And so they're kind of, not only are they versing the shitty bus parking teams of yesteryear or half a season ago, but they also don't have the crowd to help them. It's literally the worst situation ever. Because you would think, like during COVID, maybe some teams go, oh, because it's not really a home game, we're going to come out, we're going to try and play, we're going to be a bit different. But they're not. Every team, and even Chelsea, as well as they played, if they're able to hit that ball up the top, and there's only Werner up there, and he's managing to win that race, and they played brilliantly, Chelsea, but it's the same ball. I saw Fulham do it. It's the ball over the top. We've got two centre-backs on their own with one striker. That's it. Where are the other players? They've got to be behind the ball, right? So every team is doing the same thing. They just sit back, they pump the ball up to that striker, and that's it. It's simple. So Liverpool are getting the worst of both worlds.
Defend with 10 people.
Huh?
And just defend with 10 people.
Precisely. I mean, Chelsea did do that. They did well to play out from our shitty press that we tried to do. But they don't have Van Dijk, and proper centre-backs marshalling this high line. So, it's that ball over the top. Lookman was absolutely having a field day. Werner, who's crap, by the way. He's fucking crap. This season, he's been shite. He looks like a park footballer. He looks like a Sunday league, can only run straight kind of footballer. And we made him look like bloody Brazilian Ronaldo up front. And it shows you how shit was he in the first game. He played the exact same way, just direct. And this game, the commentators couldn't get enough of him. They're saying this is incredible. This is the Werner that we all know, And we made him look good, and there's no surprises. He boot the ball over the top, and all he had to do was run straight. And that's why Fulham looked fantastic. That's why everyone looked fantastic.
Well, part of that reason there is really frustrating is that we're still going 2v2 at the back.
Correct.
Like we're still playing as if it's Van Dijk and Gomez.
Correct.
And this goes back to my point of we need to tactically evolve. Otherwise, we're going to finish 10th or somewhere below because it's just not working.
What do you think is a way to evolve?
Well, I think it's the famous, what we've been beating that drum since, I don't know, 2 years ago, you and I, in terms of just the quick flip of the shape. Like, it's like a 4-2-3-1.
Mm-hmm. We did play that against, was it Chelsea? Salah starts up front. That was a 4-2-3-1, was it not?
In the recent game?
The one that we played them. I feel like there was a game where Salah started up front. Was it Chelsea? I feel like Chelsea started up front on his own. But maybe it was still a 4-3-3.
I'm not too sure about that. I don't think that Chelsea game. I'm not too sure about the Chelsea game, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But
sorry, go on.
I just think that's the way. I think it's the way forward. Like, I think with Jota back, Salah's the 9 on his own. Jota one side, Mane the other, and behind it can be Keita, it could be Firmino, it could be Shaqiri, it could be that way you attack with 4, and you keep Thiago, Fabinho together side by side, protecting the back.
Mm-hmm.
The back line there, and that way, whatever it is, then our fullbacks can still get forward, but not as much. We don't need to get forward as much because you're attacking with 4.
We can start Raffering, though. We can start Rafa Benitezing, because when Aurelio and Finnan/Arbeloa used to bomb forward, we used to always, it was Mascherano who would fill in at fullback for each one. Lucas Leiva in his later years as a DM would start filling in for those fullbacks as well. And then Xabi Alonso would stay in the middle. If you're going to look at Fabinho and Thiago in the middle, Fabinho's your Mascherano, although he can do way more than what Mascherano perhaps could do. And then you've got Thiago is your finesse player. So when your fullback bombs on, you choose a side for them to bomb on, and then whoever's on that side goes in and fills in, and then you've still got a midfielder in the middle, and then that fullback can bomb on without any worry about what's going on behind him. Mascherano used to do that brilliantly, by the way. How many games did we see Mascherano was just at fullback? He was at right back, or he was at left back. It was.
Henderson does that very well.
Henderson, absolutely, yeah. He does it even at right centre mid. That's why Alexander-Arnold is so lucky on that side. I think he gets a lot of help from Henderson. But yeah, something like that, 4-2-3-1, which means that you're not left with a soft underbelly in the middle when one of your DMs decides to go out and clean up. We've got Thiago's the Alonso, Fabinho's the Mash, and Fabinho goes out and cleans up, and then Thiago's in the middle ready to receive the ball, and then he can kind of do something with it. We saw a bit of that against Leipzig, albeit it didn't feel like a 4-2-3-1.
It's just too predictable. Do you know what I mean? Like, we know we get the ball, and then we know there's going to be a long ball into the wide over the top. Like, it's way too predictable at the moment. So that's why I'd love to see some change.
So with the 4-2-3-1, what do you think changes in our approach play?
You're attacking with 4 people rather than 3. So all of a sudden, and the way that Jota has that instinct to find the gaps facing forward, I think it creates another option, because when you're marking Salah 1v1 out wide, a blind person can see what he's about to do. He's going to cut in left. He will never go right. He will never use his right foot. And it becomes where he makes Luke Shaw look like he's the best left fullback of all time.
Isn't it incredible? He's out there constantly on his own, and he's not only double teamed, he's triple teamed. He's got 3 people on him at all times, and it makes sense because they've got 10 behind the ball. They've probably got loads of players extra to kind of throw around and defend where they want. It's incredible how much he just stays out there, and that's clearly an instruction, and that's where we go back to that's a Klopp problem, that's a tactical problem. Because Salah, we know what he wants to do. We know where he wants to be. He wants to be number 9. He wants to wear the captain's armband, and he wants to be number 9 up front on his own. He wants to score all the goals. Do you remember, what was it, the game against, was it in the Premier League? Sheffield, we're up 2-0, and the ball comes across, and he misses right in front of goal. See how upset he was? He still wants the golden boot. I think he wants that more than Liverpool coming top 4, to be honest.
Well, that easy miss was over the weekend where Thiago does the unbelievable scissor kick.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's like, mate, come on.
That was against Leipzig.
That's it. Yeah. It's like, come on. It's like you had the whole goal for about 3 minutes there. But anyway.
Yeah.
But even like people like
why is he out there?
Flat.
He's out there on his own. Going back to that, just going back to that point of the problem with Salah is what's he going to do out there? He's not that type of player to kind of go to the byline there because he's left-footed. So he's kind of like, we need to see him more central, clearly.
I think just to change things up for the rest of the year for sure. Man, next season, if you're bringing a player in, then okay, no problem putting him back there because he's proved to be successful out there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, it's not in terms of for our playing style wise, because maybe with Jota and him as the 9, so hear me out. If Salah's the 9, Jota on one side, Mane on the other, they will all stay high because the three of them want to do is score goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got your front three staying high on the defense, it actually just pins them back, which means there could be more spaces for the other players elsewhere. We know with Firmino, he's going to drop in and connect and be that like the life of that kind of the build-up. But sometimes when he drops in, it kind of like sucks in everybody else as well towards the middle, and it's hard to break through because now it's all congested.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got your front three people staying high, which these guys will, it's more so that now that one person behind the three of them can have that extra space where he may be able to find those pockets and potentially play these through.
Do you think they stay high and together? So stay central? And then they can kind of... As opposed to what's happening now, which is Salah is out on the touchline and Mane's on the other touchline. And it's like, well, Firmino's there on his own. He can't really do anything if he's just going to sit there and try and do everything on his own. So they need to all stay high and together.
Because that way you allow the spaces for Trent and Robert to do what they do.
Exactly. I think we're onto something. 3 strikers. And when you play 2 strikers in the old school... Sorry, go on. I'll let you finish.
No, I'm just going to say, it's not like I know it sounds really easy, and to be honest, I don't know why he hasn't even just gone with it and got stuff. We got nothing to lose, let's be honest. But it's more so, it's now or never.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of need to try something really soon.
Well, this is what I was going to say to you: is that when you're playing the 4-4-2, that's the standard formation. What happens with your 2 strikers? You usually got Michael Owen and Heskey. You've usually got Harry Kane and Son. You've got Gerrard and Torres, right? So of Gerrard and Torres, what's Gerrard usually doing? If they're both playing
He's
up front.
on dropping in more.
Precisely. There's your standard 4-4-2 striker system. You've got one doing bits and you've got one who's up front. If you've got 3 up there, especially the likes of Jota, Mane and Salah, what we've seen from Mane recently, is it by fault or design? I don't know. He seems to be drifting central a lot. And it's like, of the 2, Salah is, for me, just in terms of coming central, Salah's more dangerous than Mane for me when they come in. Mane is way more dangerous when he's on the ball, when he's dribbling, when he goes past someone, when he's on the wing, when he's at the byline, all of it. Playmaking, all of it. But that physical coming in, Salah's a deadly finisher. Well, deadly if he gets 8 shots, he'll score 2. Mane gets 1 shot and maybe scores it, but Salah finds himself with 8 shots. So it's so strange to see that Salah is just staying out there, almost stubbornly staying out there. That's what makes it clear that Klopp has said, stay. You got to stay out there. And for some reason, Mane's coming in. It's incredible that when there was the conversation of which of the 2 wingers do we want coming in and being more of a striker presence, it killed me to see Mane there and not Salah, because it's like, that's not your strength, Mane. Like, his strength is on the wing with Robbo. Like, why is he leaving his best mate, his partner? But going back to the 4-4-2, the strikers, imagine if you now have 3 up there and one of them chooses, when they're all together, let's just say Salah drops in and he receives the ball and he's very good at holding up the ball. And then there's a little 1-2 with Jota, who knows? Now Jota does it. We know Jota's incredible when he drops in because of the spaces he finds. He kind of does a 1-2 with himself, if you can imagine a shuttle. He'll run in, back, and then he'll run again, back into the space he just left. And then you've got Mane, who's, can play like that number 10, where we were talking about him, when he replaced Coutinho, so to speak, as the number 10 left winger. So if you've got all 3 of those players playing striker and then doing the 1 drops in, we can start to see what you just said there. We now not have just Firmino up there, for example, trying to do something on his own. We've now got 3 forwards buzzing around like bees, and like the edge of their box is like a beehive, so to speak. Maybe that'll work.
I'm with you, Jordan. Yeah, look, I think something has to change. Like, But we're going to play Wolves. We're going to wake up Tuesday morning. We're going to, within the 10 minutes of that first match, we're going to see, yeah, we know what's coming.
It'll be 4-3-3,
Like
and Salah will be out on the right, and Mane will be on the left, and either Jota or Firmino will be playing down the middle. Probably Jota, because he's said that Firmino may or may not be fit. And Salah's going to stay out on the right, and Mane's going to drift in and sometimes play striker, and Jota will go out on the left. If that happens, it's kind of like, well, it's like you're saying. They're kind of not interested in evolving.
And I think to have some success next year, because obviously we're not going to make Champions League, so let's just try and digest that, which means we lose that buying power, which means we lose also income from making Champions League and all that kind of stuff. Regardless of who we bring in next year, we've got to have, not a plan B, I don't like to use plan B, but we've got to have that flexibility to kind of say, well, we know we're going to play Burnley, or we know we're going to play, whoever. Instead of falling into their trap, we're going to do this now.
Okay.
Because I've given Pep Guardiola a huge rap, and I continue to, because I know people overrate him and fraudiola and he needs money. All right, fair enough. Put that all aside. But every single year, he adds. So whoever plays Call of Duty will know what I'm talking about. But he adds an attachment to his weapon. Every time he upgrades, and he's always adding an attachment. He doesn't just keep the one scope. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like he's added the laser, then he's added the barrel, then he's added the grip, and then he's added. So like, he started with the inverted fullbacks. Great. Then he started with his wide players rolling in and the 10s rolling out. Then he started with all these things that he starts to do. He's every single year he adds. And it's just like, well, that's why no matter what's happening or what's going on, they're either first or second, and that's it. And they still win the domestic trophies. They still win either the Premier League. They go far in the Champions League. It's because adding to what they're doing, whereas we haven't added to
I lost you for a second there.
Play.
I lost you for a second there. I just
Oh,
lost.
really?
Yeah. Just go. Say that again.
Which part?
Yeah. So he adds. That's all. He just every year he adds something.
I'm sorry, no. Every year, every single year, like I said, he adds the inverted fullbacks, then the wingers coming in and the 10s going out. He adds all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's what every year they're the first or second. They're either winning, domestic trophies no matter what. They go far in the Champions League, and that's something that we haven't done since, ever. We haven't evolved in our play.
So let me ask you this, because this is now a conversation. This is now, this is me, and I've made my peace with this season. I think, you're not going to like this, I think we're ridiculing the team because of where they are. Now, last season, the only thing I will admit is, not the only thing, as if what, I'm not going to admit shit, but we didn't buy a centre-back. That was a risk. Liverpool have taken risks in the past. Well, we bought Jota. That was the forward. 40 million. And he was worth more than that. Weren't we happy with him? Like, didn't that, like, who would you rather, who would you rather, Werner or Jota right now? Who's a better player?
You know what? I think Werner under Klopp would have been a different player than what we're seeing now.
That's true. But of the two, not even Man City bought, Man City did buy, but Liverpool bought Thiago and they bought Jota. And then they bought a left back as well. So barring the centre back, going into the season, they had Matip, Van Dijk, and Gomez. Now, I've never been a fan of that, ever. But for me, my reaction, my knee-jerk reaction is to literally sell one of Gomez or Matip and then buy a new one. But you can't that was never going to happen. So we were never going to add one centre-back to those three. Like, realistically, what were we going to do? But bring in Koulibaly, and then we've got four? Like, you literally can't keep them all happy, because Gomez is our best. Like, either one of Matip or Gomez, they can't sit on the bench. They're too good. Maybe you can argue Manchester United's of years past used to, but they had John O'Shea on the bench, and you had Vidic and Ferdinand. So it's hard for us to bring in a new centre-back unless we get rid of another one. And we didn't want to get rid of Matip or Gomez. So the centre-backs, we put that to one side. But I still think we should have bought one, but we didn't. But we had to sell one of Matip and Gomez. Put that to one side. We wanted a creative midfielder.
I think it's very easy to sell Matip. Matip was free, and he's never fit.
Yeah.
I think that was the easiest decision ever.
That's good. I agree with that. We didn't do that, and we kept Matip instead of that. That's a mistake, in my opinion.
And we sold Lovren and Hobart and didn't replace them.
Well, we that's the thing. We had 3 senior centre backs. We got rid of Lovren, and then they're thinking Fabinho is the one that's going to fill in there. That's what they're thinking at the start of the season. That's their 4th centre back. They can't. And then they think, well, they didn't. They did not think they were going to lose Van Dijk, and no, he would never have gone if it wasn't for that tackle. So you can't plan for losing Van Dijk. It's just not how it works. You can't plan for it. It's kind of like we never did in the past, and it worked. So what are we going to do? We're going to say, let's not do what we've done every year. We wanted a statue built of Edwards once upon a time because of his shrewd market business in the market. So now we want him hung because he didn't buy the centre back. It's kind of like, this is the Liverpool we subscribe to.
But we don't know if it was him or not, right?
What's that?
We don't know if it was him or not. Like, that could have been FSG saying no.
Well, FSG as well. All together, the whole unit, it's FSG, and FSG-owned Liverpool have been doing these things for 3 years, and we've lauded them for it. We've thought they've been fantastic. So they're going to keep doing what's working. We praised them for it in the past. And, like, for example, Joe Gomez doesn't become the player he is if we bring in, like, just like right now, how we refuse to replace Lovren. The reason why is because Klopp said we're going to train up, who is it? We're going to train up Nat Phillips or Kumetio.
No, it was Vandenberg.
Vandenberg as well. There was 3. Kumetio at the start of the season, James Pearce wrote for The Athletic. He says Klopp feels that either him or Nat Phillips could make the step up, and then possibly Vandenberg. But those 2 were ahead of Vandenberg. None of it happened. That was a risk that didn't work. But putting that to one, and then in seasons past, Gomez became the player he was because of decisions like this. So this has worked for us in the past, and now it didn't. But secondly, put the centre backs to one side because I think I'm with you. I think they made a mistake there. But they added the creative midfielder. We needed one. And then they added the forward, and then they added the left back. That's all we needed. We had a championship winning squad, a Champions League winning squad, that was doing well. We started to slow down, but that was kind of, the COVID thing hit, and we went to 99 points, didn't we? 98, 99?
96.
Was it 96? No, we got 90.
Yeah, we finished. We won the league with 96 points. With
96. Okay, sorry, 96. So we still, I think we were still at 2 points, even with the drop-off. And we all said that we started to see it, kind of happening. But it's hard for a team when they're so far ahead to kind of keep that up. I don't know if that's an excuse. But that team finishes, and we bring in Thiago, Jota, and a left-back. We don't lose anyone either. Isn't that not good business? Is that kind of strengthening? What were we supposed to do? Bring in Mbappe?
I think what everyone wanted was Jota was brought in as the Mane Salah relief.
Yes.
In terms of out-and-out number 9, I think if you ask anybody, I think that's what they'll tell you we needed, as well as the centre-back. So I think you were spot on with everything you said. Just add that 9, traditional 9 kind of thing that you're talking about, and then I think, you're on the money.
So they needed a 9. So the question is, they would have had to go and buy. So let's just say in their mind they're planning for Haaland or Mbappe, and they want the money to buy him. It's going to be £200 million. They can't spend that right now. So they can't spend that now. They're thinking, well, do we go out and buy a 50? So they did that. They tried to get Werner, and it didn't work because it was outpriced by Chelsea. They're thinking, well, let's just go with what we've got here, and then next season we can get the Mbappe or whoever it is, because whoever you bring in now as well, you're also benching Firmino as a result. Whoever's coming in needs to really buy into this. What player could we have got in that, like, as a number 9 that could have...
we could have got, I think if we were happy to spend the money, we could have got whoever we wanted to. It's obviously, it comes down to one thing to spend the money. Mm-hmm. And as to for next season, I don't think we can get whoever we want anymore, because
that's true.
Clubs call on, but they won't have to play for the club, not just Champions League. Well, you know what? That doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
So and I think whoever you wanted to get, you're not going to get anymore.
And by the way, I'm not saying that that's not what's happened, and we totally should take our medicine. What's happened is FSG have said, and this has happened for 5 years since Klopp has come in, they have said, we're going to take this risk, and we're going to trust the squad to get through it. And if it does, we're going to push on 6 levels. So instead of pushing on 1 level, instead of, let's just say Werner is the player, because he plays across the whole front 3 and he can play as a number 9. We bring in Werner. Okay. That raises us to another level. But we've seen with Chelsea that he's not that good. I knew he wasn't that good before. I was not a fan of him beforehand. You can get me on pod saying that. I think he's too one-dimensional. He's a great footballer. I don't think he's good enough. He wasn't good enough to take us to nth degree level. He looks really too simple, in my opinion. Firmino is a 360-degree footballer. So is Mbappe. Haaland is a complete freak. Werner, he looked like he just was in front of goal and can run fast. Anyway, he only raises us 1 level. So Liverpool have traditionally, in the last 5 years, they wait a season and then they raise 6 levels by getting in the Mbappe. This has worked every single season. It did not work this season. And now what we have to say is, well, if you guys didn't spend the money this year, you should have just went and got Mbappe. And they're going, no, we couldn't afford that money. Well, you know what? This is your punishment. Next season is like what you're saying. Now we can't attract anyone. This has never happened to this FSG, to this Klopp before. It's never happened. The risk has never not paid off. And it didn't.
My part is, I'll tell you where I'm more frustrated than anything. Yeah, I agree with you 1,000,000% in terms of the previous window. But the part that eats me alive is the January transfer window. Why did we have to wait for Fabinho to get injured for us to go, okay, let's go and sign Davies of all people, and then let's go and get back on loan.
That was ridiculous.
As soon as that window had opened, they should have said, here's the checkbook, get whoever you want, because Champions League is important to us, and so are you, Jurgen Klopp. That's the part that gets me. Yeah. And then you read the Emilio Sarr come out in the press and goes, everything was agreed to go to Liverpool in January, but they didn't want to pay the fee.
Yep. Yeah, that's frustrating. But this is the thing. This is where I go back to. I'm not surprised by it, and I'm not upset at it, Pete, because that's the Liverpool we're supporting. That's the Liverpool that we've been given. And what I mean by that is that's the Liverpool that we've grown to love. This Liverpool doesn't spend money. They don't pay exorbitant fees, and they're never going to, because they think in the long run it's going to lead to the premiums being attached. Manchester United now have that premium, but they pay it because they've got the endless money. We don't have that. If we want that Liverpool, we need new owners. It's simple as that. The Liverpool that we've... Say that again?
I'm not asking for new owners. It's like...
I know, but that's not how they've never done things like that, though. They've never done this.
You know what? They needed in that January, they needed to.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. But they don't do that. So I'm not surprised. And they got punished for it. And we were saying it together. It's like, go out and buy your fucking centre-back now, because you're going to be fucked. You're not going to have Champions League football. And they didn't do it, and now we're fucked and we don't have Champions League football. But I'm not surprised by it, because we've been doing it for 5 years. This is kind of what they're kind of stubborn. They're like, no, this is our ethos. It's kind of like, I think they deserve everything they got, but they're being themselves. I can at least credit them for being themselves. This has worked for 5 years straight, and this season looked like it was going to work with bringing in Thiago and all that. We never know what was going to happen. Thiago, when we got stale last season, Thiago fixes that. But we lost Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez. We'll never know if this risk would have paid off. Van Dijk screws us. Not only Van Dijk, but then we lose people to COVID. We lose Henderson. We lose Jota for 3 months. And again, that was a mistake playing him in that game. We won't know. It's a complete clusterfuck, and it goes back to what was the initial straw that broke the camel's back. I think it's a big, fat, freakish, horrible mess, and it's a freakish mess. And I don't think this has ever happened to a team before. Never. This degree of misfortune in this climate. It's horrible. Liverpool did their homework and they go, it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. We're going to do this thing. And then everything blew up in their face. And they do deserve where they are. FSG and Edwards and Klopp and everything. But I think they made the right call doing what they did, because it worked for 5 years. We're champions. Why not do it that way?
Again, I agree with you. They did the right call in that main summer window. Yeah, I can't help but drop this winter window thing. That one.
You're 100% right. I agree with you.
That there, you should have gone there. Look, Klopp, you've put Liverpool on the map. You've got us this Nike sponsorship, which is why they're paying us the most expensive sponsorship there is. You've turned the city around. You have now made us, when we bought you for whatever it was, and tripled the value.
Yep.
So if we sell the club tomorrow, we're going to sell them for, $1 billion rather than what we paid for them. And whatever it is, it's like, you know what? You need us now more than ever. Yeah.
That's exactly
what should have happened.
Yeah, and we know Klopp asked for the centre back January 1st. We know he did. He kept saying it. So everything that you're saying right there, you can see that Klopp wanted that. And like you're saying, the owners should have done all this. They didn't. And the thing is, it was being asked by the manager, and he didn't get what he wanted. So yeah.
And what gets me is that when they turn around and you hear the reports, I think Jamie Pearce reported it, and they said, the reason why they didn't pursue hard because they thought that Klopp's genius will get us out of this trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you understand this is bigger than Klopp?
Yeah.
Do you understand this is something that one human behind a tactics board inside an office can't fix, because and then he needs to have, like, it's like asking him to fix your engine, your car engine, but without tools.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What are you going to do? Sticky tape it together? Like, you know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, he needed the owners to say, we don't normally do this, and you know what? This may affect your next window, but we see how important it is for us to go into the Champions League, and we need you to get there. Here, go and get who you need.
Yeah, and I think it's they've been experienced up until this point, but that I think if they're going to stay true to who they are, they don't do all that, and that's the call that they did make. But that shows their inexperience. They have to learn how to not be themselves, and they have to learn to look at the situation and go, you know what? Yeah, we are going to give you more of our profits, and we're going to we're going to take some money out of that budget, and we're going to move it here. And I think Klopp wanted that. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but yeah, we can just hope that this season ends with some sort of. We need Hail Mary, win the Champions League or whatever, because it's going to make their mistakes look awfully good. I don't know what's better, for us to make the mistakes and then learn off them, or for us to get the Hail Mary and then FSG go, see, it worked. It's like, well, no, it didn't. Klopp got you out of another one.
Look, I think we need to drop that whole Champions League thing too, because
yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, stranger things, you know?
Absolutely. Moving into, very, very quickly, just to wrap up, moving on to Wolves, it's another team, if I'm not mistaken, that does play five at the back, and I think we've struggled against that. Because the five at the back is one step away from this low block thing that we just hate. And the thing is that I don't think Wolves go into games. They are playing three at the back, right, with the two wing backs?
Yeah, they play 5-3-2 or 3-5-2. Like, it's yeah. That's how they work. Like, so, yeah.
I remember once it was the manager of Southampton. I can't remember what his name was, but this was when Liverpool drew against them. Remember when Milner misses that penalty and we make top four that season, and Klopp says this is an important point. We end up beating Arsenal to top four. That manager, I can't remember who it was. He sucked, but he ended up saying the manager of Southampton said no one comes here trying to play all-out defense, because Klopp kind of gave him a bit of shit for playing all-out defense. He goes, when Liverpool are this good, you get forced back into your own half. And I feel that way with Wolves. I don't think they would want to put five at the back and sit there and defend. But Liverpool, not that they're that good, but Liverpool just keep the ball for so long and they do nothing with it. And it gets so stale that other teams just like sit in and go, well, let's just wait until they finish this bullshit that they're doing. But the point of that is that without even trying, Wolves are going to have this five at the back, and it's going to be difficult, and it's Liverpool's kryptonite.
Yeah, we'll see, because we all know that he likes to defend first and attack second. So he's a kind of like a counter-attacking kind of manager.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that's their weakness at the same time, because we can hurt them. So I think the key to the next game against Wolves is transition.
Yep.
So when they attack us, obviously when they've lost the ball, if we can catch them off guard quickly when they've won the ball back, I think that's how we can score against them. And that's how City scored against them. I watched City tear them apart. It ended up being 4-1, I think it was. But it was 1-1 at one stage, and it was actually pretty good. I thought it was going to end up a draw. But what City ended up doing was breaking them down in the wider areas, because that's where the gaps would be, obviously, when you attack, because you've only got three at the back and they're going to be more central than in the wider areas. And they broke him down and they just ran away with it at the end. So we'll see if Klopp can do something similar and exploit that kind of weakness.
Can I ask you, do you think that, so Liverpool was so good at counter-attacking. When he comes in, he kind of goes, that's kind of what we're going to do because we're the underdogs. We're not going to be the best team on the pitch, but we're going to do the one thing that we know how to do properly. And that was the catalyst, that was the springboard into the Liverpool that we're seeing right now. And it's funny because we wore this crown as this counter-punching kind of team. And when we got so good, we actually outgrew the counter-attacking. And it's kind of like, I'll equate it to like going to college or going to high school, whatever. And you've studied a particular subject. And now you're in like year 12 or something like that, 12th grade. And you know all these things, and then someone gives you your test from like year 10 or something, and you're looking at it, you're like, I don't remember that. Like, if they were to like sit you for the year 10 exam, you'd get like 80% or 70%, depending on how good you are, but you're like, I kind of forgot, because I haven't done this in 2 years. I kind of forgot how to do this stuff. Liverpool got so good and so advanced, they kind of didn't really need to do the counter-attacking much anymore. The question I want to ask you is, do you think, because right now, one thing that we've seen, like you just said, that there were opportunities to counter Wolves if they were to counter us, and then we go straight back. We've seen this season Liverpool do that, and you yourself have said on our group chats, I can't believe how many wasted opportunities we have where we're countering fast, and there's just one ball that goes behind someone's feet, or one ball that goes, askew, and it's that final ball. We're always lamenting the final ball. Do you feel like that we've kind of forgotten how to counterattack, and it's kind of like this team hasn't really needed to do it that much? And so, I mean, can you account, have you noticed that has left our game, and have we kind of forgotten how to do it properly, do you think?
There's definitely a mojo missing, if that's the word that is correct to be used here. I think that kind of swagger of the way we do attack with speed and with ferocity is kind of, whether that's forgotten how to do it or not, or just tired from doing it, potentially. Mm-hmm. There could be something there in what you're suggesting. I just think that it's not clicking. Now, whether that's a mental thing within the individuals, whether it's a collective thing, whether it's just the other team actually doing a good job, there is definitely something that there's missing, as you're trying to like suggest here. There is definitely something that when we go forward, it looks flat.
Do you think it's something we need to work on, train on, or is it just like do the players just need to concentrate more in those moments?
I definitely think it's a lapse in concentration. I think that's, look, at the end of the day, how many opportunities have we had on goal, in recent weeks, and nothing's been on target or whatever it is? That's not because, they haven't trained that, because how they're getting there. So obviously they have trained that. It's more so in that last moment there, when as that player kicks the ball, going for goal, bottom corner, top corner, whatever it's going to be, what's going through his head at that time.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you very
so
quickly.
I don't think it's that need to train.
Right. I want to ask you just before we wrap up, you talked about changing that shape maybe to a 4-2-3-1, or we've even just discussed the possibility of 3 interchanging strikers, 3 quick, mobile, eye for goal strikers, as opposed to maybe Firmino being in there, Jota, Mane and Salah. In the context of Wolves having that 5 at the back, and how Liverpool at their best do play those wide fullbacks, right now it seems as though Trent delivers from deep, Andy Robertson gets to the byline, combining with Mane, for example. That's not working recently at all. Now, with Wolves playing Sorry?
It's predictable. That's why it's not working.
Yeah. So in the context of that, and also Wolves are going to have that 5 at the back, which makes it even harder to go around them, because it's like, they're even wider than a normal back 4 would be. What do you think is the way that we pick the lock? How does this team pick the lock against, do we have to go round them? Do we have to start shooting from range? Do we need to... Because remember Mane and Origi, for example, Origi against Newcastle and Mane several times before that, it's that Coutinho position, curling the ball top corner. Salah's done it once this season, but he hadn't done it since his first season at Liverpool. those types of goals seem to be like, it's like long range speculative. These are the things that we kind of have to hold on to. How else are we going to score? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like.
I think we can use, look, obviously, they're going to use their two wider wingers, fullbacks, whatever you want to call them, to try and pin down Trent and Robbo, to try and progress, try to stop them from progressing forward. That way, if they, if Traore or whoever it's going to be stays high, then, does Trent go? Does he stay? Whatever. But I think we just got to take risks. And I think that when we do have the ball, I think Trent and Robbo both just have to try and go and try and get in behind that space that could be left by that fullback and in between that left-sided centre-back or right-sided centre-back. And I don't want to see Salah Mane too wide. I want to see them a bit more narrow, because that way you're still occupying the three centre-backs. Mm-hmm. So if you keep everybody narrow and it becomes like a 3-on-3, I back our front three versus any kind of defensive three that can do anyone, really. And then all of a sudden you look at that person behind those front three, how important they're going to be for those to get on the ball.
Well, you can kind of have Salah, Jota and Mane in the middle, and then your two centre midfielders can kind of occupy those wide spaces and help Trent out. Because it's kind of like Trent's not going to beat his man. He's not going to get beyond that person. There needs to be a 1-2 happening, or there needs to be a triangle happening in there. That's kind of why Salah stays there, it seems. I don't know why the fuck he's out there on his own half the time. But yeah, there's got to be those two centre midfielders can probably perhaps provide that little triangle for Trent and Robbo. Who knows? Having said that, what do you want the lineup to be?
That's an interesting one, right? Because the back four, I would love to see just Kabak and Phillips continuously playing together, get some cohesion, and finish the season together, please God.
How good's Phillips been? I mean, he fucks up against, who is it where he fucks up, where he misses? Is it Fulham, the first Fulham? Or was that actually? I think that was Fulham.
It was that
or West Ham
goal, that weird goal. Yeah.
No, it was Fulham, wasn't it?
It was West Ham, West Brom was one of those two earlier on.
Oh, West Brom, yeah.
It was off a corner.
It was a mistake, and it wasn't that bad. It was like anyone could. It could have happened to anyone. And isn't Adrian in goal as well?
Yes.
Yeah. He's been great apart from that. And you know who else I think has been great? Just sorry to derail. I think Kabak has been fucking unreal. I'm sorry.
So have I.
I think he's 20 fucking years old. Can you believe there's people out there having a go at him? I can't believe it. Have they fucking lost their mind? Where was Joe Gomez at 20, Pete? Fucking flailing around like a fish against Wolves. Nothing.
Well, I don't understand, though, George, is that they're quick to smash Kabak, but they'll protect Robertson. I think Robertson's been underperforming for almost a year now. Mm-hmm. In terms of deliveries, getting forward. Defensively, he's still fine. But his go forward, for me, has been way off. But he's protected species in terms of copying something on social media. But Trent is the first one they'll go and bash.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think people are just stupid in general, to be honest with you. So that whole Kabak being 20 years old thing for me is, I believe everything, because we're seeing it time and time again. You see Neco Williams get abused.
Yeah. But like, even from a tactical position, like even like esteemed, like the Athletic and like Anfield Rap and stuff, they're saying like, oh, he's struggling. He's not. I was like, what? All this Nat Phillips love, by the way. He's like the king of the castle, everything. Kabak is 20 years old, has never played with this side before ever. Phillips has been at this club for how bloody long? And he's 24, and he's played all that football. Kabak is 20, never played in this team before, comes in after one training session, and look at him. This is a huge success story, and you know what? In the face of losing Van Dijk and all this season's this write-off, who knows, next season, and by the way, I mean, look, he had a bit of a knock. Who knows if he's going to be injury-prone in the future. But if we've got ourselves a 20-year-old, potentially world-class centre-back, at least if he keeps doing what he's doing now next to Van Dijk, you can get rid of Matip or Gomez. I mean, we can't get rid of Gomez. I think he's fantastic and brilliant. But it's like, it's incredible. It's I think he's been a huge success, and it's crazy because he costs nothing. It could prove to be a huge masterclass.
And to sign him for 17 million, whatever it's going to cost, who cares? Just done.
I think he's been brilliant. But anyway, you want those two to start. Just keep up the centre backs.
Obviously, we need the cohesion. Yeah, they get the other two, obviously the obvious two. I mean, I'd love to see Robert have a rest soon as well, and they can play Tsimikas because we're yet to see what he can do for us and what he can offer the squad.
Bro,
So,
who is he? Like, what the fuck? Tsimikas.
so
What a
yeah, stuff like
disaster.
that. Like we've been so many opportunities,
What a
yeah, but there's
disaster.
been so many opportunities to play him, and he hasn't. So, but anyway,
Well,
that's
he's been
another.
injured. He's been injured. He hasn't been
Yeah, but
fit.
he's been.
Why? Why do we buy these players? Why do we buy players that can't play?
Well, he's never had injuries up until Liverpool. Liverpool's cursed. Something that since moving to the new training ground, I think there's that wherever they've dug that site, I reckon was an old, I don't know,
A
whatever
burial
it
ground. It's
Yeah,
got
there
the
must be
Elgin
something
marbles under it or
uh,
something. Greek
they
artifacts.
need to go on. Yeah, they need something to do there. Take white sage and drown the place in it. I don't know, but um, the obvious two. I'd love to have Fabinho and Thiago side by side because that was so nice to watch. Um, then obviously Wijnaldum because Wijnaldum was brilliant as well. And the front three, I like to see Jota play, and the obvious other two, Salah, Mane.
And have them narrow. I like all that. I mean, in the week, by the way, just going back on that thing, it's Kabak and Phillips that keep their clean sheet against Leipzig, who are like one of the best teams in Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Second best, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, Kabak, it's how there are not like article upon article upon article about him, and it's all about Nat Phillips now because he goes up and heads the ball with his eyeball, or with his nose or something like
We
that.
know why. We know why.
Yeah, it's the English bias.
Yeah.
Do you have a score prediction at all?
I've given up on predicting, mate.
We haven't
I
done
have
we haven't
given
we
up
haven't done a
completely.
show. Like I think the last time we did shows together, we were winning. It was in December. We were top. We were top of the table last time we did this. So
Well, let's
maybe
hope this breaks. Maybe it's our fault.
what was that?
Maybe it's our fault that we kept losing.
Maybe. So you're not going to predict anything. I hold a
No,
gun to your head. Okay, win, lose, or draw. What do you think it is?
I think we'll probably win, lose, or draw.
I'm going to go for a win. I think Kabak is going to keep Kabak is going to keep a clean. I can't even say it properly. Kabak is going to keep a clean sheet.
That's how we know you're lying.
That's a tongue twister, that one. No, I got faith in him and Phillips. I think they're going to do well. I think Fabinho in front of him is almost like having three centre backs. And you know what I find really, really funny, by the way? There is a Snickers commercial that has just come out in the last 2 weeks to 1 month. Have you seen it?
Jurgen Klopp one.
With Jurgen Klopp, and he's like 3-5-2. Who plays 3-5-2? And I was listening to it. I'm like, what about every team that's come to Anfield and beaten you for the last 6? I think it's one of the most poorly timed commercials. Although I
Why
love
would
it.
you release that now?
He must. You know what? I have a feeling. I have a feeling he's recorded that ages ago, and there was a clause in there saying Jurgen Klopp gets to command whenever it's released, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, no! Don't release this right now." And then they're kind of like Snickers are sitting there going, "Bro, we have to release this at some point." And he's like, "Okay, wait till I win a fucking game, and then we beat Leipzig." He's like, "Put it out there now." But it doesn't look good in the context of let's change the system, and Guardiola's 3-5-2ing it, and or 3-5-1 or 3-6-1, whatever he's doing. And you got Mourinho is 3ing at the back, and you've got everyone's doing it and succeeding, and Jurgen Klopp's the only one who's not. But when he plays Fabinho in defensive midfield, it's like playing a third centre back. It's protecting the other two. Anyway, that's just under an hour. We've kind of got everything off our chests. It's been 2 months. I think the last time we did chat, Liverpool were winning, so maybe it's going to be a good omen for the future. Who knows, Pete? What do you think?
We can only hope.
We can only hope. Only hope and pray.
Look, I think it's exciting to see what we can do in the Champions League because we know how we are when it comes to the Champions League.
Absolutely. Well, maybe. I'm in hotel isolation. Maybe we talk after the Wolves game and then talk about what we think about the Champions League going forward. Because you and me have had some good conversations about that as well. The whole idea of Liverpool are a different team. You even mentioned it at the beginning of this show. They're tired of playing against English sides, and they just love the idea of playing against an opposition or a team that actually wants to win a game for a change. But anyway, it's been a good chat, Pete. Me in hotel isolation. This has been the highlight of my day. There's not many highlights in this little room that they've locked me in. But hopefully a highlight will be watching Liverpool win in roughly 24 to 36 hours time. So anyway, it's been good, Pete, and we'll chat perhaps after the Wolves game.
Demanded that he should score for Liverpool. Salah to settle it. In front of the Kop. Delicious cross. Mane! Alexander-Arnold. It's running.
From doubter to believer.